Hello. Before I start my oratory, I'd just like to say the reason I'm dressed in this is because of a bit of miscommunication and external circumstances. I've been forced to record this oratory at school rather than at home wearing my actual suit with my formal gear. So I'll just begin my oratory just having given you that information. When I was a child, I struggled with my math classes, so my parents decided to motivate me using beloved Hollywood actor and bodybuilder Dwayne Johnson. But looking at my calculus grade now, The Rock may have not been the way to go. You see, they told me Dwayne's famous quote, that with the right motivation, you can move mountains. Now, for anyone with any amount of brain cells, that would be easy enough to understand. Work hard and achieve your dreams. But me, being the intellectually incapable 8-year-old that I was, took it literally, embarking on my own journey to move Mount Everest. But when my requests to move to Nepal were constantly denied by my mother, I quickly found that Dwayne's motto didn't really work for me. So I modified it and came up with a goal that fit my personal ambitions. And boy was I proud when my new motto became that with the right motivation you can move mountains. A food into your mouth! Trust me, it's true. But in all fairness, Dwayne's motto is in no way faulty. I mean, look how far it's gotten him. Coming from a family where he was living paycheck to paycheck, to now being the 8-time WWE Heavyweight World Champion, it's safe to say that he's gone far. Now, it goes without saying that to accomplish a feat as incredible as this, it requires nothing short of amazing physique, and Dwayne has just that. With a workout routine consisting of 6 hours of highly intensive weight training paired with a highly restrictive diet, it's safe to say The Rock is doing everything he can to make sure he looks flawless. But that's not a strange way of thinking. In fact, it's the way most of us think. Although many of us won't go to crazy extremes like Dwayne, we all strive in our own way to look good. And that's not the problem. It becomes an issue when we look in the mirror or step on the scale and see ourselves as flawed. In a study conducted by the University of Groningen, psychology professor Ernestine H. Gordon found that women dissatisfied with their body weight were more likely to classify themselves with negative meta-stereotypes when they thought they were being evaluated. These negative meta-stereotypes were found to lead to a feeling of worthlessness, which eventually leads to depression. And that's my primary concern. I fear that if we continue on this degrading path, we may see our society, once filled with a plethora of distinguishing personalities, fall into a collection of mere shells. So join me as we first step on the treadmill and examine how certain influences lead us to have a negative body image. Next, let's take a run as we weigh the consequences of having a negative body image before finally taking a shower, as we find out we can cleanse our behavior and create a healthy atmosphere where we can all live happily in our own skin. Now, we can't deny that media plays a huge role in influencing our day-to-day life. But as you know, many of the effects are not positive. For example, movies and TV shows are constantly bombarding us with men and women in prime physical condition, causing a sense of insecurity in people around the world. In an article published by Flinders University, Professor Marika Tigerman states that 50% of girls ages 9 to 10 feel better about themselves if they are on a diet, even though only 18% are truly overweight. And boys, as young as ages 9 to 10, were found using anabolic steroids to gain more muscle mass. We must understand that we're influencing the next generation to believe that they must look the best possible, rather than feel comfortable with themselves. But it doesn't end there. Many people develop a negative body image due to severe mental illnesses, such as anxiety. In a study conducted by Brown University, researchers assessed the prevalence and clinical correlations of body image concerns with anxiety and found that 1/3 of adolescents with anxiety, in fact, had a negative body image. And do you know what the leading cause for anxiety is? It's shame, inflicted by a peer onto a victim. Now, I don't know about you, but that's the most troubling part for me. The fact that my own friends could be the reason that I have to suffer for the rest of my life. And my personal favorite singer, Alessia Cara, feels the same way. When her song Scars to Your Beautiful came out, I originally thought it would be a moody, simple ballad like the rest of them. But I could have been more wrong. The song effectively spoke how we all try to feel perfect in this world when in fact, we already were. One line truly spoke to me. You're beautiful just the way you are. This line alone successfully conveys how our attitude towards how the world views us is supposed to be. Far too often, we allow society to dictate how we must look like, forcing us to change our priorities to fit the needs of others. And this behavior has become most prominent in our society today. And it's through this behavior that most of us, at one time or another, have felt a feeling of insecurity because of something we did, said, or wore. And although we may look back on this time as an insignificant period in our lives, many people feel this way every single day, being shamed by peers and colleagues around them just because of the way they look. On the night of April 12, 2019, this feeling led 11-year-old Philip Spruill to take his own life. A fifth grader. These are the students that we expect to be excited, happy, and joyful. But nevertheless, Philip was bullied by innocent children whose minds were plagued by our toxic behavior, causing him to feel like he wasn't good enough, that he wasn't wanted, and that he wasn't perfect. And our societal norms of just brushing it off and bouncing back allow those who truly need to speak to someone like Philip to feel like they just can't. When we tell little kids to work out and it'll fix all their problems, we may mean the best, but don't understand the psychological effects it has on them. Maybe this is the reason why University of Colorado professor of emergency medicine Matt Zuckerman states that 35% of obese deaths are due to drug overdose. We must understand that by forcing others to feel like they must look the best possible, rather than feel comfortable with themselves, we are creating a social trend to do the same, forming a bubble of toxicity growing stronger by the day. This act of toxicity was first shown to me as a child. When I was a kid, my parents would tell me about a little boy in the 5th grade who had little friends and would constantly be bullied wherever he went because of his body weight. And although that kid didn't take things to the extreme like Philip, he nevertheless fell into a deep, deep depression. That kid was me. And going through that tragic period of my life helped me realize how easily we can fix this problem. And it all lies in the acronym PSA, a public service announcement to practice self-acceptance. One way to maintain a negative body image is to avoid your body. So in order to break the cycle, stop the avoidance. Get to know your body, lumps, bumps, and all. If you usually avoid mirrors, start approaching them. Look at yourself as a whole person, not just the parts you don't like. Having a negative body image is like having a critic in your head. The critic is a harsh, derogatory narrative that looks for ways to make nasty comments about you. For example, I look disgusting in this outfit, or I can't believe how fat I am. And worst of all, you believe it. And because you believe it, you look for ways to make yourself feel better, maybe finding momentary pleasure in food, but minutes later, the critic is back to comment on how much of a pig you are for eating. The big key to changing a negative body image is to kill the critic and practice self-acceptance. When I finally accepted myself, I worked day and night, not telling anyone what I was doing, and they never knew what hit them. The Rock 2.0. Okay, maybe it's more like the Pebble 2.0. We as a society need to make sure that we must never put down others based on their exterior image, but rather let them in and get to know them, because we know there is much, much more on the inside. We must also understand that when we put down others based on their exterior image, it takes a toll on them psychologically, changing their life forever for the worse. And finally, we must say goodbye to our original mentalities of solely what do we look like, and change them to what do we think like, what do we feel like, and what do we act like. Now, after all this, you probably think I have some great goal of changing everyone's mind so that we're all accepting. Don't get me wrong. I strive for society's goal to be the same. But in our day and age, many people believe this will be nearly impossible to achieve. So let's take it one step at a time and end it. Because honestly, all I want is to make sure that everyone has a place in this world. Join me in making everyone feel that they are imperfectly perfect. Thank you.